When Dean was a little child, his father had been a policeman. Unfortunately, he had perished while performing his duty, leaving his wife to raise Dean by herself. Welcome to USA Stories Channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. Upon the little boy's offer to purchase supper for 2 police officers in a mall, they responded to his generosity in the most exquisite and astounding way imaginable. Even though Dean O'Neill was only 13 at the time, he was always proud of his father, despite the fact that it wasn't really fashionable for children to be proud of their parents. Frank, his father, was a policeman who devoted his life to maintaining the safety of New York's streets. He was a real hero in every sense of the word, from patrolling the beat and assisting locals and visitors alike, to hunting down and apprehending criminals, to even busting major rings of organized crime. Dean admired his father and delighted in spending time with him. Frank was a wonderful parent, even when he wasn't working. He would take Dean out for walks, take him up to the pool for games, or take him to the toy store, where Dean could always choose whatever item he wanted. There was no denying that Dean's parents, Frank and Amy, had given him a wonderful upbringing. He developed into a well-mannered, perceptive, clever, and attractive young kid. But when Dean's father died while he was at work, it rocked his life. In his police cruiser, he was pursuing an evading criminal when he lost control on an icy stretch of road. Frank and his police partner were not alive when the automobile overturned. Dean and his mother, Amy, were heartbroken by the news. Frank had been their pillar of support. He was the one who had supported them consistently, through good times and bad, and now he was gone. It was almost too much to handle the anguish. The accident had happened 6 months ago. During that period, Frank had received a massive and heartfelt funeral, which it seemed like every New York police officer attended. Sadly, Dean bid his father farewell with tears in his eyes and observed his final resting place. With closed eyelids, he prayed that they would cross paths once more in the future. Amy made the decision to relocate them to California, which is on the opposite side of the nation, shortly after the funeral. She wished to keep their pain at a distance. It was eventually time for Dean's mother's birthday. Dean grabbed his meager amount of pocket money and went to the mall to look for the ideal present for his mother. Since this was her first birthday without Frank around to share it with, it had to be the perfect thing. It would be up to Dean to stand up and be the one giving his mom a beautiful present. He noticed 2 police officers hanging around outside one of the stores while he was strolling through the mall. Being the naturally curious young guy that he was, Dean approached them and inquired as to whether they were on a stakeout or some sort of covert operation. They chuckled and said that they weren't, that their purpose was to just monitor the mall and look out for any theft or other mischief. When Dean started chatting with them, he revealed that he had gone shopping to get his mother a unique birthday present. He was focusing on a wristband. It seemed like something his dad would have given his mother, yet it wasn't overly pricey. Nevertheless, time was running out, and the mall would soon close, so Dean said goodbye to the 2 cops and went into the stores. But he realized as he was leaving that the 2 cops had most likely not eaten today. His father frequently grumbled about working long hours and not having time for supper. Dean then had a brilliant notion all of a sudden. Dean purchased a big double pepperoni and cheese pizza and 2 large sodas as he turned away from the jewelry store and made his way to the massive food court. He didn't care that it used up the most of the money he had brought to give his mother a gift. He was aware that his mother would be pleased with him for what he was about to do, which was a nice and giving deed. After their shift finished, Dean discovered the police officers getting back into their patrol car, so he took them the food and beverages. The cops politely received the stuff he had given them. When they questioned Dean about why he did it, he said that it was a nice gesture. But the police officers inquired about his father's whereabouts just before he was able to go. Dean stopped still in his tracks, suddenly overcome with emotion. Though it still hurt a great deal, he tried not to think about his father too much. He did, however, give the police officers a detailed explanation, and they paid close attention. He informed them that his father had been a police officer who had lost his life while performing his job. Though Dean wished he hadn't been a hero, he had been one. More than a hero, Frank was necessary in the lives of him and his mother. By the time the youngster had done speaking, the police officer's eyes were also filled with tears. The cops could not have been more proud of their son than Dean's father would have been if he had been present today. Dean properly responded with his name when they asked. The two officers gave him a salute, shook his hand, and advised him to persevere. Dean grinned. For his father, that's just what he intended to do. Dean used what little money he had left to buy his mother a card while the police officers gradually drove away. It's the thought that matters, after all. The next day, he had the shock of a lifetime that nearly caused his heart to burst out of his chest as he was on his way from school to celebrate his mother's birthday. A police cruiser was parked outside Dean's house when he turned the corner of his street. He raced for the house, along the garden, and into the door, terrified that something terrible was going on. Though he was frightened by what he could see within, he came to a complete halt as his mother emerged from the kitchen, beaming broadly. In an instant, Dean's perplexity and fear turned to confusion and delight. Dean's heart shot up at first. It made him feel good on the inside to see his mother so obviously pleased, as he had not seen her smile much since his father's death. And obviously, nothing could be all that bad if she was grinning, could it? However, that still left open the question of why the police vehicle was stationed in front of his residence. When Dean questioned his mother as soon as possible why the automobile was there and if there was a problem, she promptly reassured him that everything was okay. When Dean realized the true purpose of the police cruiser, well, everything was perfectly good. A broad smile appeared on his face as well. The two officers he had met in the mall the day before, the ones he had purchased dinner for, emerged from the kitchen. With broad smiles on their faces, they carried a birthday cake and other wrapped gifts in their arms, all intended for his mother, Amy. Recalling the boy's admission that it was his mother's birthday, they felt compelled to return Dean's compassion. After work, the cops went shopping, came home with a cake and a variety of gifts, and joined Amy and Dean to celebrate Amy's birthday. Dean was informed by one of the police that they had intended to extend a warm welcome to the family of a slain cop who had recently relocated into the community. After Dean told them his name, they looked up his home and went to the house to assist Amy celebrate her first birthday without her husband and to inform Amy of her son's charity. And so, because to Dean's generosity, an evening that may have been depressing and lonely ended up being one of the funniest ever. All he knew was that his father was grinning proudly at the young man he had grown into and was staring down on him. Had you been as kind as Dean and purchased the police officer's dinner? And if you were Dean's mother, how would you have felt when you heard about it from the two officers? Please feel free to share your ideas and opinions in the space provided for comments below, as we always appreciate hearing from you. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.